Hi everyone. Turn on my other live video. Maybe people can see me live. I'm not sure. It says it's live. Maybe two. I can see if somebody can text something so I can make sure I'm on. I'm going to look here, see if I can see myself. All right, we'll start in just a minute. EnergyWorks. Yay! Okay, let's see. I think it says live. Here I am. All right, I'm going to start my Instagram and then we'll begin. We have about 1 minute. Okay. Oops. Let's see. All right. Just arrange this camera. Hello. Hi. We will just give people 1 minute. It's 1:01 and I did not promote it. I've been doing so many sessions. Hi. Thanks for joining. Oh my goodness, Tom. Wow, long time. So good to see you. Hi everyone. It's great to see you. I'm so excited about today and the work that we're going to be doing because it is impacting everyone, and to help everyone and just get your feedback. Also, shoot out if there is any topics that you want me to focus on. This morning I've been doing sessions, and so a really great topic came up that probably applies to everyone in their life. So I think I can see my my live. So just type in if you're wanting me to read anything, look at anything. Now is your time. And I'm not going to be doing these sessions for free very much longer. I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but right now I've been flowing a lot of things out. So in a flow exchange or in just some type of flow, I would love a donation, or flow back in any way, or just get a session. And really we have an opening now until 4th of July where we are going through intense transformation. So thanks so much for joining. Are we ready to get started? Today in EnergyWorks, EnergyWorks is actually a method that I created in 2008. And so it is how we move our energy, how we connect, how we run our energy. Because nothing changes unless we can and have the ability to move our energy. And we usually move our energy in this horizontal game, kind of where our mind drives our attention outward. And we tend to focus on the person that's opposite from us and then play out our dynamics and patterns. And so this morning I had a great session, and what's coming up kind of as a collective, as a whole, kind of this energy that I wanted everyone to look at in your life to see how it plays out with you. Because a lot of times when we can't change a dynamic or can't change a pattern, we haven't been able to see what is in the space. And I wanted to talk about control energy and how control energy may affect your life. And in this scenario this morning with a client, that she said I can use this example because I'm sure it applies to everyone's life in a lot of different ways. And in the world right now, we are trying to untangle kind of this unconscious energy that runs, this energy that runs in all of our lives, and we do things with such automatic responses that we can't seem to create beyond it. And so we are now in agreement to really creating something new, creating something that we can start and build our foundation in a new way and have whatever we put on this foundation really thrive and grow. And so today we're going to be talking about kind of the unconscious control energy of how this energy runs in situations in your life that you don't know maybe how to deal with. And first, we're kind of using this 5-step process from Moon Magic, and we're looking at kind of identifying our beliefs, what we want to release, kind of the communication that we get in, like with others, around kind of this unconscious energy. And then that forms our self-talk, which reinforces kind of these beliefs that we have about ourselves that are most of the time completely inaccurate. And then we go on creating a life based in, something that that we really, it's false. It's a false reality. So I love it because now we're going to be breaking up the game. So my client this morning, we were looking at, she was raised with a narcissist parent. And when you're raised with a narcissist, your attention is always placed outside of yourself. It has to be placed on that person because they have a lot of fear and anxiety. It may not appear that way, but they've got a lot of fear and they struggle with existing. And so they have to have people's attention, and especially if you're a child and your attention is trained early on, to place it on the parent. And this would mean that you either do two things. Like initially, she behaved and a good person and always followed the rules. But there comes to be a certain point where it's like, wait a minute, you feel controlled. You feel the control energy in the space. And then she, confronted that control energy. But a narcissist, can't handle when somebody confronts that energy. Like either you have to agree with the control energy, and if you don't agree, then there's a full-on war. But when you're in this dynamic, and maybe you don't see yourself fully in that dynamic, but we're all in this dynamic in certain levels. Or when you look at kind of our nation, and we're all kind of children of this dynamic, kind of a control energy and what's really going on. And this is where languaging is so important right now, kind of, how we speak, how we say things. And a lot of people are saying things, that they don't know what to say, and they may channel things in and say the wrong thing. And so we have to fully own kind of the energy in our space, because if you don't own the energy in your space now, what will happen is you will channel something in. And it's kind of a setup of where you may be speaking about what somebody else is thinking right next to you. But if you, because you channel, and everyone channels, whether they know it or not, and a lot of times people will just spew it out, and all of a sudden they're in trouble. So I'm just talking a little bit until everyone gets here, and we're talking about kind of how control energy affects all of us. In every situation that we are in, if we are not moving forward, if we've hit blocks, if we've hit things that, say that like we have an intention of we want a relationship, and we seem to find these relationships where people say, oh no, you can't, or they just oppose you so much. And I want you to be very aware of kind of like in my client situation, where, she was raised with a narcissist, where her attention had to be outside of herself, where she had to please and do, where you have to kind of be perfect, and you have to give your attention away to a narcissist. And if your attention doesn't go to that control, and if you don't agree, then all hell breaks loose. And I want you to see in your life, is there somebody where if you don't agree with them, and you may have a different opinion, is there no space for you? Is there no freedom? Because voice is so important now today. Why? It's because a lot of people are saying things and there's no freedom of speech. And then we don't know what to say. And so a control energy will have it where if you do not agree, and you have to understand what a control energy kind of is that they struggle with existing and they need people's attention in order to exist. And if they don't have agreement and if they don't have that attention, then their world starts to fall apart. So that's something that they can't actually handle. And she said it's very interesting that her parents and even her grandmother would say, I'm the Great Oz. Now, isn't that a good kind of metaphor? I am the Great Oz that provides people with kind of their heart, their brain, the ability to give people whatever they want. And that's what a control energy does. A control energy, and why we're saying this is because as I'm talking, see who in your life who's a control energy. If you don't agree with them, and if they get all upset, and if they can't handle it, they get all defensive. And then somehow things get twisted around and get blamed on you. I want you to break your karma sticks. What is breaking karma sticks as I'm talking? Breaking karma sticks means that we are breaking an agreement. You don't have to imagine it, but it's kind of like this pencil here. I'm gonna look at that. I broke the karma stick. We are breaking karma sticks with all control energy. With whatever control energy is moving in your life. So that's what's breaking a stick. You don't have to be breaking pencils here, but it's kind of in your imagination that you identify it, because we're using 5 steps. You are identifying kind of where the control energy runs in your life, because it's very unconscious, it's very hard to see. And you break it. By breaking it, what it means is, I'm not going to be controlled. I'm out of that agreement. And in my client's case, kind of the first step is you start to see the control, you're aware of it. You say, I'm not in agreement. I want to have a voice. I want to speak up. And that's kind of what's happening. It's very interesting what she said. She said, kind of in her, family dynamic, I want to just smash, kind of take a baseball bat and smash everything, in my childhood, in that home. And when you look at our nation, that's how people feel. I want to smash. I want to destroy kind of everything that was built from control, from power, kind of this energy that doesn't allow kind of everyone to have a voice, that doesn't allow kind of, enough space for everyone to really participate. So we can see, this example in our own lives as well as a reflection as the collective. And so break your karma sticks. First, we're identifying where in my life is there an unconscious energy running. What does an unconscious energy running mean? It means that, for her, it meant that in her relationships now, currently, what is taking place is that she's asking for a partner to show up. And the partner somehow can't show up, like participating or even, organizing things or, setting up things. But, she's asking for scraps. And how many times have you, because on a very deep level, especially if you were raised by a narcissist, raised by someone in control, the level of the ability to ask for what you want, is very low, because on a very deep level, that you won't get it. So I'm just going to not ask for very much. And this is important that we, break the karma stick on that, because if we're not asking for very much from the universe, we won't get very much. And there is something very interesting about control energy, because it's very punishing and it won't let you have anything. It's like here you want to be in relationship, here you want flow and communication, you want kind of that connection, and the energy that shows up is very punishing, and it's like, no, you can't have it. You want just a little bit, and you know what? No, you're not going to get that. And how many times have you felt that way? It's like, I'm just asking for a little bit. Okay, so now let's not ask for a little bit. Let's ask for a lot. And really, who are we asking? So a part of it is unwinding this pattern that we all have. It's in all of us on some different form or different level of kind of this low self-worth of, isn't it funny too that I don't know if you've ever had the experience, but a lot of times when you have nothing to lose, this is like Oprah. A long time ago, she asked for everything and now she owns 90% of her company. How can that be? Well, it's kind of like people underestimated her. They didn't think that she could create a lot. They didn't see her power potential. So she asked for the moon. And this is where you must ask for the moon. You must ask for things that you can't imagine, because when you start to go into that space, asking for something beyond kind of what then you kind of open yourself up to the miracle space. But here's what happens, and this is why a lot of people don't ask, because when it doesn't happen, when you don't get for what you asked for, and I want you to be very aware of when you were growing up as a kid and you asked for things, did you get it? Did you not get it? And it's kind of like growing up, I never asked because we never had anything. So it's like, who am I going to ask? Like, I knew not to ask because, it's like, I couldn't get it anyway. So, and it's very important, this whole process around EnergyWorks. I ask, I receive, I release, I renew. It's a circuitry. And so we want to have this ability of, who is it that we're asking? We want to ask the living light. We want to ask God. We want to ask our guides. We want to ask the golden guides, to align with the right energy. Because if you're not receiving like her, if she's not receiving something from a relationship, what I noticed in the whole space is this. It's kind of like her own family beings, I mean, by energy, spirits, there's spirits all around us. And a lot of times, energies come in and they start to play out a genetic line pattern. And so, with her genetic line, what would come in is, no, you can't receive. And you continually have to be isolated, and you have to give your attention. If you're isolated, then, it's kind of like, well, where's your attention going to go? Well, back to mom, back to the narcissist. And so, so a part of clearing kind of what we're looking at as a collective is first identify where in your life you may have control energy. And so what does control energy mean? It means look at somebody who kind of opposes you, and it's okay that somebody opposes you. Because especially if somebody opposes you and there's space for everyone to have a voice where, somebody's not fighting you, but there's just enough space for everyone to be heard, for everyone to kind of play in this playground, and for, for people to really show up, for us to meet, somewhere in a collaboration, somewhere in center, as opposed to just each person on their side and seeing each other as so opposite. But here's what I want to clear today. We tend to focus on what we don't have, or how that person next to us isn't giving us what we want. And so what do? We get into communication. We start saying, and maybe even asking what it is we want. And but then it doesn't show up time and time again. And so communication doesn't really help when it comes to that. So we want to make sure we are communicating kind of to our guides. When you start to communicate to your guides, what happens then is you start to ask your guides that, show me what it is, kind of that control energy that stops and blocks me and isolates me, that keeps me separate, that even maybe overtakes my partner. Because a lot of times, it's our own energy that could be attached to us, that could be running through us, or some genetic line energy that comes in. And if our partner doesn't own their space enough, what will happen is they get kicked out. They can't even think. They're not even conscious about what's going on, and they don't even know what to do. It's kind of this energy comes in and hijacks the whole space. So by identifying, okay, there's something here, I can feel it. You can feel the emotional temperature, and that emotional temperature is control. And you may have a response to that control of, I want to fucking fight this. I'm going after this. And you have this response of anger. Now that anger then means now you're hijacked and the other person's hijacked. And when you get angry, then your cortisol levels go up, your adrenals get blown, and now you're food. You are food for these energies or entities, I would call them. Energies that are stuck on this plane, energies that have not been able to move up through to the light. They are not free. And so they have lost their way. But they do need to feed. I know this sounds crazy. But we're going to just start to do a process here, and you're going to start to be very aware. So here is what we clear. What we want to clear is that control energy that sits in the space that really hijacks you and the people around you. That, if you do not own your space, and it will start to run through you. It's very interesting because I was watching that documentary, Jeff Epstein, I think his name is Jeff Epstein, and that is a perfect example. He's this billionaire, and he really molested a lot of young girls. And in each scenario, here's a very powerful person, a lot of money, and a lot of power. And this is kind of what we're looking at too in our nation. A lot of money and power, and people speaking up to it, like having your voice, not feeling controlled and repressed by it. And so it was showing how in all these instances, these girls, they didn't know what to say. They didn't have their information. They just kind of froze. It's like that fight, flight, free or freeze, and then, there was a whole ring where these girls would bring other girls into this scenario, and this guy got away with it for years and years. But in that, you could see this control energy, controlling all of these girls, and you don't know what to do. You don't know what to say. You don't have a voice. And really, that sexual energy is how people get fed. Sex and money, those are the same chakras. So a lot of times power is connected with sex. And in order for people to be powerful, they feed off that sexual energy. And this is where, we are just kind of aware of the energy in our space. And so today what we want to clear is anywhere in your life where you have identified kind of this control energy in certain scenarios. Maybe it's been a relationship where you've asked for what you want, but somehow they resist you and they won't give it to you, and they don't even know why they won't give it to you. Instead of kind of going after that person, I want you to go after the control energy. So here's kind of how you identify that. I want you to just imagine kind of a circle out in front of you. And this circle, I want you to just ask this question from 0 to 100%. How much control energy is in my space, in my relationship space maybe, or in my business space, or, in a project that sets that space that I can't create beyond that control energy. And so just kind of get a number. You may not be able to see it in your head or energetically, but you can kind of feel like, is there something else in that space? And so maybe give me a shout out of what you see. When I'm looking at people, when I'm looking at relationship spaces, some of the people, from 40%, it's not their energy. It's some other energy in the space. It's this thing that you have never been able to resolve, no matter how hard you work on it, no matter what your communication skills are like. It doesn't matter how well you communicate. Or even with, a project, even like my project that I was working on, like there was control energy in there, and then it, kind of turned upside down. So it's kind of like, what is that in that space? And in this time, especially moving up till 4th of July, we want to be free of all control energy. And to be free of this control energy, you have to identify it. You just have to see it. It's kind of like this current kind of moving through, because there is a part of us where it starts to run in us like these girls, that were molested. And you don't know what to do. And so first you have to see it. So identify it, illuminate it up, and see the percentage. It's from 20 to 40 to 80%. And I want you to imagine that you put a grounding cord on that circle and start to ground out, just with our intention. We are grounding out that control energy. The control energy that messes your relationship space up. The control energy that gets in and hijacks your creativity because somebody's stealing your information, what you brought because they wrote it down. Ground out that energy. Ground out any energy of where things have gotten distorted, where you haven't been able to see clearly. And by grounding this energy out, now, and also, instead of just grounding it out, we're going to connect it up. Connecting something up is handing it over. If we get involved with that control energy, it'll fucking whip your ass. I've gotten my ass beat by it. So you have to approach it in a different way. It's like you got to make it vertical. Instead of kind of, most people get in a resistance to that energy. Like I'm going to take the bat and bash it down, like my client was saying. It's like, oh yeah, it'll come right in you. It'll get a hold of you. When you look at our nation, when you look at things getting like torn up, and it's like that rage, that anger, that'll come in us. We start watching that comes in us. But we want to go for really how to clear this, how to clear being under this control, being under this unconscious energy that controls the collective. Like we all need to be aligned here. We all need to get into agreement of kind of what is this control energy controlling all of us? Because if we're on one side, it's got us all. And so this is the energy we really want to clear. So another way, the first way we talked about, is grounding it. Grounding it moves energy. What does grounding it mean? It means that kind of, this belief that I can't have what I ask for. Let's just ground that out. That belief of I'm only going to ask for, not very much. It's kind of like when you pray, you should be asking for things. Do you not ask God for very much? I know you're busy or whatever. Like I'm just going to ask for a scrap and maybe you'll give me a scrap. No, that's not the relationship. It's kind of like, this is where it's very important, how we are creating in this time. And if you have been with people that are narcissists, that are, where it's their way or the highway, see, this is where you haven't learned to ask. And so it's very important we align then with our guides, or align with spirit. And it is in that where you ask. Because think about someone for a moment in your life where you've asked and haven't received, where you've, thrown a ball out to them and they've just grabbed that ball and they don't give back. And they make it your fault, and somehow, it's always your fault. And so, but now, just ground that, just release that. Now think about asking God something. Just send it up. God, I am asking for this. You know, even if it's asking for this or better, energetically, what happens the moment you send something up is the moment it comes back. With God, there's always a circuit. There's always this vertical. And in this time, you know, it's very important we remain in this vertical game instead of this horizontal playing field. And in this vertical game, I just keep moving energy up. And, you know, and what we want to move up is, okay, there's something, maybe you don't see the pattern, but you feel it. Maybe you identify beliefs. You know, why can't, you know, I create beyond this block? Just identify that. I'm going to ground that. Now I'm going to hand that up to God. As I hand that up to God, you're saying you deal with it. And then we're asking even our guides, show me, you know, what I need to see here. Where is my blind spot? Where is there, you know, like a current running through me that I'm go unconscious to? Where do I get kicked out of my space? And if I get kicked out of my space, that energy is running me. And in order to really create, we have to be tuned in. It's like turning on a station. You want to turn on that channel of, I'm talking to my guides, like the golden guides. I'm talking to my spirit guides. I'm talking to God. And that's the channel I'm listening to. When you listen to that, now what happens is that becomes a reflection in you. That energy becomes a part of your energy. And going into these 3 weeks until July 4th, you got to be very clear about the energies you're aligned with. And if you're aligned, this is why we've got time here, only a few weeks, to get out all of these patterns. You know, by this, we have a window of opportunity of change, and it's hard to look at, you know, kind of the patterns of where we're unconscious. But we've got to do it because this is the time change can be easy, and we're all doing it together. You know, so we're not alone here. And, you know, we feel bad about, you know, why haven't I been able to maybe change these things before? Well, you know, change is happening now because we can have access, and this is what we do in session. We really see kind of where that undertow is, things that you haven't seen, and if we identify it, it clears. And, you know, so about clearing, we got to move energy. How do we move energy? Well, we ground. We move our energy down into the planet. We're releasing kind of the energy of the control. We're releasing in our life where we've been programmed out of our creative energy. And we are connecting to God. In connecting to God, we are filled then with our creative energy. That is pure light we have access to then all the time. Tuning into that station, and our spirit guides like, hey, you know, I really want in relationship, like with my client's example of, you know, where she, you know, connects with people that can't give her what she wants, that actually do the opposite. And, you know, she's just not even asking for very much. Tuning into the guides of, you know, I want to be able to really receive, really ask. And it's having that self-worth of turning my attention inward so that I can really see myself. And a lot of times when you are and have been raised with a control energy or a narcissist, we fear so much being a narcissist that, you know, we won't turn our attention inward because there's a confusion here that people think that's narcissism, and it's not narcissism. Narcissism is, I need your attention on me. But I'm not saying put your attention on me. I'm saying put your attention within by you moving then within, and just place your attention right now within in your heart. And by the mere fact of placing your attention within, you become alive. That it is a spark, it is a light that fills you up. That you are starting to observe God in you. You are observing kind of form. God in form is the planet. in you. And by focusing kind of in the center, you are able to start to see from wholeness. And that is the position we must take. By being in center, then, now we are not in chaos or creating a world in duality or creating from, survival, that we are creating really a whole new place of what this world is going to look like. And if we're looking anywhere else, and this is why our attention gets pulled other places, because if our attention goes outside of ourself, control energy starts to run through us. Then we don't know what to do. Then we're like programmed out, and what happens, it's kind of like the virus. People that I've worked on with the virus, they lose their information. They lose the ability of their communication with their body. And so I want you to even focus for a moment on your foundation, like your first energy center at the base of your spine. Because a lot of people have lost their foundation, have lost their information. As a lot of people want to just destroy it, just bash it up and destroy it, like we need to create something new. Well, that's fine. However, we want to eliminate the control energy. So the control energy isn't sitting on our foundation, because we're going to be dealing with that. And so imagine a circle kind of at the base of your spine. That circle represents kind of on the left side is that passive, and on the right side is the active. And as that energy kind of goes into the active, and then for the energy to return to complete, it's empty on that left side. So there's this circle happening. And for energy to move, we ground it. It's kind of like grounding. Every home has a grounding rod. By placing a grounding rod under your home on your foundation, a ground, what happens then is if there's a break in the circuit, which we all have breaks in our circuit now, we won't catch on fire. What does catching on fire mean kind of on a physical realm? Your energy starts to amp. What does it mean? I start to get angry. What does it mean? It means that you start to connect into somebody else and create some fight, or believe that that person isn't giving you what you want. And so by kind of focusing on our foundation, we are just kind of calling back. I'm actually helping you, calling and working the 8th and 9th level, working these upper levels here, calling back your information, working with your guides to bring it in on your foundation where you have a circle, where you have a circuit. And in this circuit, that the energy is connected to, your higher self. It is where you can have your information on your foundation and connected to the divine, connected to Mother Earth, where you are releasing, you are renewing, that you are asking, you are receiving, that this circuit is just kind of moving. So just imagine, this circle, and there are breaks in this circuit that we are asking your guides to replace that, to fill in where you've lost your information, where you've been programmed out of it. I was working on a 5-year-old yesterday, and it was very interesting because I could see where pictures were put on her and imprints where she lost her voice, stuttering. And it hadn't happened until this time, but it was from a teacher. And then it's kind of, she had a whole new belief about herself. And then she started acting different, like this energy started to isolate and control her, separate her out from her peers. And this is where, if we're all in agreement here, that happened to all of us, where, an incident happened, a picture was put on us, and then all of a sudden a new program starts to activate. So we want to just ground that, ground the circuit, ground that circle, connect the circle. When you start to then ground it and connect it, the circuit moves. Energy's coming in and it's releasing, like there's a flow. And where there's information, your spirit's information, and that I'm asking the record keeper, to bring back your information for your new foundation in this time. And in this time that we're moving into, because we're kind of moving into the same kind of planets with all these retrogrades happening. It hasn't happened in, like this until like the American Revolution, kind of our independence. Like my dog is having a nightmare, actually. Dexter's having a nightmare. The revolution. But in the revolution, the independence from the English. And isn't that kind of what we're working? Independence from not the English, but the control that has affected all of us. Because if we can have compassion with one another, and if we see each other as really the problem, we're going to miss the boat. It's really this control energy that, and he's still having the nightmare. Wake up in your dream, Dexter. Erase the snakes. Yeah, interesting here. Yeah, control energy. So let's just ground that and clear it. I don't know if you can hear him. Do you know? Working out that stuff in the dream space. Because kind of in our conscious space, most people are not able to confront this. And so how can we even confront it? See this circle, this energy. As I move the energy, and our chakras move that way. They move clockwise, they move counterclockwise. Kind of that back of the chakra moves counterclockwise. We ground it, we connect it. It moves. The front of the chakra moves clockwise. That energy center moving, and it's being calibrated. I'm just grounding you, connecting you, and say hello to your grounding. Start to calibrate and clear out where there's energy or control running in your life. And this is a very good tool, is where there is control. I need you, and you can be texting me, or send me an email of, I notice the control energy in this space of my life. By noticing it, what happens then is we're not in agreement with it. We break our karma sticks, we break our pencils. Don't break your pencils, but sticks. Imaginary, we are out of agreement. We are breaking this. And in this time then, we're reporting this energy. It's kind of like, no more of this. No more of this energy running all of us where we're all hijacked and kicked out of the space. Because if we're all hijacked and not committed to the body anymore, then what energy wins? And I really want you to confront this and look at this in your life. It's like, well, you may think it's the other person, but it's the energy that's hijacking everyone. And so it's kind of like the blue and the red, but we want to look at that centerpiece, kind of what is the energy and control there. That's the energy. We want to create a circuit. We want to ground that. We want to connect it. We want to, identify that of no more. To start to move in and to own our center, to occupy our center in this space. And so imagine, and you are a circuit. You have an active side, the right. On you it's opposite, right? Because you're a mirror image. And the left, passive. And this energy is moving around us. And we need both. It's kind of like either side, we need both. We're the opposite. So we must connect those together. In connecting them together, now the energy starts to move. And then this control can't break us apart. So how do we clear the control? We identify it, just see it in a circle. It's like, what area of your life doesn't work? Identify that. Maybe it's relationship, maybe You're not able to bring in abundance. Identify 0 to 100%. Let's look at work. A lot of people aren't working. Look at how, what is the control energy there that blocks everyone from not even working. Just ground it, move it out, connect it. That's making it vertical. By making it vertical, then we're not going like this toward each other in this horizontal playing field. That will only kind of, prevent us from going back to work. That will make us believe that, we are under this control, that we can't move forward somehow. That, if we own our health, that's owning our space. If we own our health, then we don't need to deal with this COVID thing. Like by being grounded and connected, bringing in this new energy, we can just update. Let's do that. And what is that energy there that keeps us in this belief that we can't own our health? Look for a moment at 0 to 100%. How much do you own of your health space? Isn't it interesting? It's kind of like I got out of agreement with someone. I used to have kind of stomach stuff. Nothing now. It's like, look at the energy in that space. Do you know? And now tune in. Tune in to connect the back of your throat like a blue thread up to your guides, up to the golden angels, up to the living light, to Christ, whatever you connect into, kind of in that vibration. And from that vibration, be very clear of the energy that you are in communication with. We are no longer in communication with this controlled energy. See, he just woke up out of his dream. Come here. You had a nightmare. Yeah, you had a nightmare. Dexter was working, he was working it in his, dreams are the best way to, work this control energy. So how you can do that is before you go to bed at night, just imagine that I imagine the Astral Hotel kind of, and just kind of go to the 8th floor and there set the intention. It's kind of like my client's intention of creating beyond control, really creating from your wholeness, creating a world of, of where everyone is really in agreement of wholeness and what that looks like. We've never had an experience like that. Usually the control energy runs everyone, and that we want to see what this looks like. See, it's like with even Jeff Epstein and what he did. If the girls had a picture and they knew to say no, but a lot of them had come from broken homes. And when you come from a broken home or control, this unconscious energy is running in the space. And we've all had unconscious energy in our childhoods. No one has been immune in a sense. It's kind of like we know what that felt like. And this is where, we pull up our ground, we get destabilized, and then we're in survival. And then you can even smell it. I can smell it when that happens. So really embrace this time for change, because either you make the change or the change makes you. So the steps kind of we were looking at today in order to create that change is identify kind of what is the control energy that determines what you create in your life, and look at it from different aspects. And then you can put a gauge out or a circle out that represents how much do I own this space, and look at the energy, the other energy that runs it, that sets it, and ground it, connect it. Start to move a circle, which will move it out of your space so you can create beyond the control energy. And in a way, we can start to identify kind of our self-talk. It's like my client's example of, being raised by a narcissist. Her attention was on, the parent. And when it's outside of yourself, that's how we get programmed of allowing control energy to run us. So we're a good girl, we behave, but at a certain point, you're like, wait a minute, there's no me in this relationship. It's all about the other person. And usually what happens when we see that, we start to fight it. But then there's a whole set of other problems when we fight that. When we fight that then and go into resistance, then we get into this dynamic as, you know, and then we create all of our relationships kind of based in those pictures. And then we don't have enough self-worth, so we're asking just for fucking scraps from other people, and you can't even get that. And so no more. You know, it's like you're going to ask God, you're going to ask, you know, your spirit guides, I need some help with this. I need to really be aware and see. You got till July 4th to really identify and give me a call to clear out, to create space so you can be here in a new way, because this is the time to confront these changes. Because if you do not confront these changes are going to change you, and you may not have a say. And kind of by doing it this way, like, you're creating tons of space and opportunity so miracles can come in. Because, you know, we got this revolution happening and it's coming, and we can change kind of how we go through it. And this way, you know, we won't get kicked out. Because if we own our space, unconscious energy, control energy can't run us. We won't get kicked out. We won't get hijacked. And that, God just needs a few of us, you know, and the planet needs a few of us to really be connected. And when we are, now we are watching what the living light is doing. We are watching what it's creating. We are watching how our guides, kind of what they're doing. Like they are a council. This is what we're tuned into. And now we are seeing, okay, how can we see this world from that higher realm and that perspective? So there we go. Is there any questions that anyone has? Maybe you can post them. Let's see. Here's some questions, I think. Let's see. When going back to work, what do you suggest for adding protection? Okay, so protection when going back to work and going into public spaces. I have a lot of clients that have gone back to work. Protection is you're grounded. That means you're releasing any energy that you're absorbing. A lot of people, you know, are empaths. And when you're an empath, you know, you start to feel what's happening in the environment. And what does that mean? Like yesterday I was talking to someone and they were feeling angry. And I'm like, actually, no, I could identify who that anger was. And they were feeling depressed. Oh no, that actually belongs to this person. That's not you. That is, you know, I started as being an empath. Being an empath, I was such an empath that I couldn't hear for 3 days. And then the third day, this client walks in my office who couldn't hear. And I was just matching. So, you know, how do we protect ourselves? When we ground, the point of grounding is we're clearing everyone else's energy out of our space in order for us to be safe, secure, and stable and supported. And then we are connecting up to the light. By doing that, now we know who we are. We're tuned into the station of kind of who we came here to be and starting to observe that within ourselves. And that creates, by the time you kind of reflect in your heart, that creates protection because it creates your field around you. And that protects you by focusing here. So that is how you can protect yourself. And yes, client said 60% of other energy. Hi, Benin. No questions. Sending my love to you. Okay, where one has blacked out. Compassion is the human advantage. Okay, blacked out. So that's going unconscious. You know, going being blacked out, what happens, it's like blacking out can happen, even sometimes people don't, take any substance and they totally like lose their information. They totally check out. A lot of times I see blackouts. Let's say if there is a substance, somebody takes a substance, then we black out. But it's more about this, how you clear that. It's a being that wants the substance. It's a being that, let's say, may want to smoke or drink. And the beings invade. It could be our genetic line. And they will find a picture or a way in your space to fucking hijack you. It's a control energy because they want to taste what it tastes like. See, we have more actually power in us because we have a body than the spirits do. But they want to experience even that drink or that sugar or that candy or whatever it is. And so, a lot of times, especially when the veil gets thin, I put things out for my ancestors. I put a drink for them out. We'll say, okay, I'll do the horse races once. I do their vices, not that I do their vices, but I put it out for them because otherwise they're going to fucking kick me out. They're not going to kick me out because I know what pictures. I've been kicked out enough to know what pictures they kick me out in. And what do I mean by pictures? Where I don't own my space. So what can you do to not black out? You can start to feel the kind of tide coming. You start grounding. You start going vertical. And you can feel like this control and the pain in the space. And you start to then clear pictures. And that's what we do in session. Clear enough pictures so that you can really see, and sometimes you just need another person there, really seeing so that you have the power of like, I'm not going to do this. It's like you see what's going on. I mean, I was molested early on. And with that energy coming in, it set me up for all kinds of shit. And so it wasn't until, it's like, wait a minute, like the energy. It's not even about being molested. It is about the energy that came through. Because I work with a lot of, especially girls that were, and, therapy for years. And therapy's great. I mean, I'm a counselor, but it's the energy that got in on it. And that is the energy you want to clear. Because clearing that then means that kind of this control energy can't hijack you. So, we are all standing up to that. And if we all get into agreement to seeing it and clearing it, grounding it out through that circle, connecting it up, calling in our guides, like this is the station we're listening to, and we're not going to listen anymore to kind of that control energy. We're not going to listen to that fucking station. Like Dexter was having nightmares over there listening to that station. No more. You should have seen him on the full moon. Okay, does anyone else have any questions? All right. I love you guys. I'm with you. And book appointments in this time because there's so many great changes. With clients in the past few days, we've identified these patterns and things that haven't moved for them have moved. So, woo! All right, let's do it. Love you guys. Bye. I don't even know how to shut this off, so let me see here. Oh, I'm still live. All right, in video, here we go.